Good evening, everyone. Welcome here at Bathurst. We are in Australia for the final round of the Case King.de Prime Series. I'm Chris Romano, and for tonight I'll be your voice, well, even for today, to be fair, for the finale in both championships. We will start tonight, Tuesday night, in Bathurst, as I said. We are in Australia, so we are on the other side of the world at the moment. There it is just the start of autumn, of the hemisphere. And the track is actually, it doesn't really need presentation. It's the street circuit being placed in New South Wales, in Bathurst, obviously, in Mount Panorama to be exact. When a track that opened for the first time 88 years ago in 1938. It basically remained the same since its opening. Nothing really changed apart from 100 meters more on the length, but essentially the track remained the same since the very beginning. Especially with the S's, which is the most famous part of the circuit. But the circuit currently holds a couple of series. We got the supercars, obviously, with the Bathurst 1000 and the Bathurst until last year, the Bathurst 500. The Intercontinental GT Challenge with the Bathurst 12 hours that had the COVID break, but now it is back in full fashion. But probably it's also held the TCR World Tour, which always... It's incredible, the TCR has been everywhere, and now it's dead. The Australian Grand Prix, with the MotoGP coming here for some time. The 24-hour that has been held for just a couple of editions, and a couple of lesser known series. But the track's most important proficiency is the fact that it's famous for its elevation change. 174 meters from the lower part to the upper part of the mountain, Mount Panorama, for example. And also, it's important to refer to the two straights, of which one of them is quite lengthy, actually nearly 2,000 meters, nearly 2 kilometers long, the Conroe Straight, whilst the mountain straight is only, quote-unquote, just slightly longer than a kilometer. The highest point, as I said earlier, being 174 meters above the lower part, and the highest point is actually nearly at 1,000 meters of elevation, 962 meters above the sea. Apart from this, let's now see the championship situation, as we can see now. In the Case King.de Prime Series, we got Capo, Sasha Wasner quite tight together, and Jay Stevens following around 600 points behind. Now it is important because the battle for the lead is actually not over yet. Capo and Sasha Wasner are actually still battling for the championship. But now let me explain a couple of things. So you can see that the races being counted are 10 and 9 in this case. But you have to account for the drop round, and 11 for some other, because there are 3 drop rounds. So this means that Sasha Wasner effectively had 2 zeros. So if he participates tonight, he still has a chance to win the championship. Whereas Capo, his lowest point round is 1144. So this means that a 1400 point finish here would put him 56 points higher than he currently is. Whereas Sasha Wasner can still set a 1400 point finish. And for example, Capo, let's put the example of Capo going with less than 1144. So this means roughly, I think, 10th place or something like that. Automatically that would count, I mean the, sorry, not the 1144, because that's already not counted for. The 1216 would actually be the one being unaccounted for. Every time it's a bit difficult with these drop rounds and whatnot. As it stands, with the races being counted, I think there's still a chance for Wasner to get above Capo. It's likely difficult because I have to also look at rounds that haven't been completed by the drivers. So for example, we've got Jay Stevens with 1,080 points and 1,100 as a drop round, but also there is the last one, which is a 0 still being counted for it. But guys, I think Stevens is already out of the championship. Realistically, that 1,000 point will be deleted in case of Wasner achieving a 1,400 points. So this means 400 points more. So in case... Okay, I can finally make my mind up. So let's put the example of Wasner getting 1,400 points. His worst round up until now is 1,000. So this will put him 400 points above. So 12,032 points, which will be more than what Poe currently has. It's slightly difficult in that regard. So if Poe doesn't set anything better than 1144, which is... let me see exactly. 1144 is 10th place. I was correct. So this is slightly difficult to get the standings to make sense if you don't have anything in front. So Capo has to make a finish better than 10th, and Wasner has to make up a finish better than it will be 224 points. So whatever is 224 points at that point, because likely difficult. So for example, let me just quick math it. .66 will be... Yeah, in case of a... Okay, no, it's exactly enough. Okay. So... effectively, Poe just needs to race tonight. And then... I think the next drop round will be the 12-16 in that case. Plus the 0 that he had in the 7th week. So it's slightly difficult. So I will just let the track speak for itself. Now, in the results from Valencia, Eric Elefante won ahead of Mattia Max and Capo that arrived in 3rd, Sasha Wasner in 4th, and Loren Varrossem in 5th place. With Miguel Silverio, Jay Stevens, Relagno, De Martinez, and Temple completing the top 10. Let's quickly go into the price, because as I said, the price for the podium sitters is brought to you by Nitro Concepts. Thanks to them. The podium sitters will have prizes. So I have 300 bucket seat for the winner of the championship, an 1,000 gaming chair for the 2nd place holder, and in 3rd, a wind bundle. So podium sitters will have some nice additions to their sim rigs, wherever they finish in. Obviously thanks to Nitro Concepts and Kskin.de that bring together partners and drivers. Now I'm currently also entering the lobby, so it will take a bit. As you can see, it's slightly difficult to... That's exactly how things will pan out, because accounting for drop rounds means that if a certain result is better than another, you have to account for that. And it becomes especially difficult when every single round is counted. It's not the same for Wasner, because he already has 2 zeros. Let me just go in... Here you are... No, not working. Haha. Fantastic stuff, huh? But what if I just do this? Okay. Give me the password. I need the password some reason CCC decided to completely erase from existence. Very cool. And now I'm into lobby. Give me a second that everything gets linked together. Always a couple of, I won't say issues, but it's just that SCC is slightly difficult compared to LMU, which, remember, on Tuesday there is the season finale. And now into TV2 and everything should work. Just put the OBS scene on the correct place. And I need a CC. Thank you very much. So now also the tower. Not on. Okay, now it is on. And everything is now working perfectly. I hope. There is still the LMU overlay, apologies. Okay, now it's the correct one. And here we are into the qualifying session with our first driver on track being Sebastian Picano, number 9. On the tower on the left, you will see some important information as always. So for example, in qualifying, the session difference for somebody to pole position. And in the race, you will also see position delta, manufacturers, and all the important information that you usually see. At this point, it's just the usual. You have to remember to put back into something else. For now, Sebastian Picon will be our first car on track, so let's go for a round trip again around Bathurst, as we just crossed the turn number 2, Griffiths Bend, and then into 3 and 4, which is actually an overtaking spot, this one here, then into the hairpin, while going upwards, query corner, 5 and then 6, 2 quick right-handers, flat out over the curb, not too much, otherwise you get bumped out from the wall, then 8, then 9, Frog Hollow, and Sulman Park, which is very difficult because if you tap the curb on the outside too, as you could see, too harshly, Sebastian Picon was sideways for a moment, going into McPhillamy Park, then downwards through the dipper, from 12 to 17, with the walls close to you by centimeters. That's the effective difference between the drivers, how many centimeters you can put between yourself and the walls. At the first bell, we got Conroe Straight, which, as I said earlier, it's quite lengthy, 1.9 kilometers long, and then into turn 20 at 186 kilometers per hour usually, dropping speed at the 120-130 marker. After the chase, it's Murray's Corner, which is turn 23, and that's a whole lap at Bathurst. Quite a quick one, I admit. It's only 2 minutes. Well, it's only 2 minutes, obviously. Classic here, considering the usual track length at selected venues. Jan Buscher, 3rd place at the moment in the car number 11 Ferrari, then Van der Meer in 4th, and Alex Santer to put his car in 5th. Then we got Philip Resch in 5th now. Some drivers who still haven't put their optimal lap, and that's because the very first lap in Bathurst is always slightly slow because of how difficult it is to hit the tires up. Even if in race team you really have a lot of pressure on, well, on the surface, rather in the tires, as Eric Delfante now back on top with a very different livery from the last time. What's there on the bonnet? There's a lot more yellow than the usual. The Energy Sim Racing currently in pole position with a 159.810, and the only car at the moment that has this record of being under the 2 minutes mark. TMX right now sits in 2nd, and Sebastian Picano in 3rd place. Still improving a lot, Jan Buscher. 2 minutes .0.1. And he's going to improve him by 3 tenths, so that will put him on par of the Fante. Currently 2 tenths below himself. This will put him under the 2 minutes mark, although that was slightly out of bounds. This is on the left part of the race car after the chase. That being a problem for his lap time. Matter of fact, that's third place as Ulke van der Meer 2 minutes 00.005, only 7 milliseconds quicker than Bouchard, and another 23, no, actually just 23 faster than Max, and 53 faster than Picano. Very close among the 4 drivers, whilst in the meantime Delphante is simply butchering the field by not only setting the only under 20 seconds lap time, but also by improving the very same lap time he set earlier by a whopping 0.5 of a second. So that's a 59.350 for Eric Delphante, the Italian, absolutely demolishing the field as it stands, with nobody really close to him. In the championship, he will have a 0 because he didn't participate in the first 3 rounds, but he still has a chance at the podium. Finisher by... let me quickly have a look. So we've got... let's take into account he will probably set a 1400 point finish. Van der Meer would have his lowest score of 1168 being accounted for it, and that will be a position being lost, considering there is 130 points of difference between Van der Meer and Delphante. But for Jay Stevens, the lowest will be an 1100 point finish. Actually, I think there is actually a high probability for Delphante to still have the podium finish if Jay Stevens can have a good enough result, because at the moment he has 1100 points round, which will not be counted for, whereas anything else will be counted for it. It's going to be close in the podium. Ian Buescher at the moment, second place, he managed to improve his own lap time by setting at least a 59, so this makes the total cars under 2 minutes on 2 only, unless somebody else improves. We got Wayne Ferreira at the moment at the Lexus number 22, passing through turn 20 into the chase. As the Honda got a V8 in it, must have. I think the Honda is actually a V6 if I remember correctly, as Wayne Ferreira is in 12th right now. Said Australia, not Austria. Ah, okay, you were talking to the chat, okay. And I think nobody else is improving. As a matter of fact, the 27 cars field is either in the pits or into an outlap. So Delphante will be possibly the very first car to start the next flying lap. Yeah, as I said earlier, considering we're in Australia, the track temperature is slightly lower than the usual. There is a yellow flag at the moment, 21, slow on track, but that's, I think, just Alexander going slow for some reasons. nobody is on track. Well, actually, this one car is setting a lap time, a valid lap time, which is Dina Necro, sorry. And at the moment, the number 24 is in 20th. The Nissan GTR Godzilla, which I don't think races anymore in GT3, and oh, that's also an off track for them. So Wayne Ferreira next in line. Wayne Ferreira number 22. Lexus in 12th. It could improve by 0.2. And if he does so, that will be top 10 already. And that's just 11th. 2 minutes 00.5 for Ferreira. Picano here in 5th place. We got number 9 on a valid lap time. Unfortunately, I think some of the drivers are also on a valid lap time, but the race control is not letting me see their improvement, because some of the pit stalls are after the finish line. This makes them as if they were on a off track, sort of. So unfortunately, I will not be able to see if there is any improvement in the very first lap. For now, Picano will actually be able to do so. Picano was improving. He's not anymore. And that's a 58, 59, 2 minutes, 00. Although the gaps are very... Oh, that's the server. It was me. For a moment I lost... I think I lost connection for a single frame, for some reasons. As I was saying, as Philip Richter goes over the line to set at 00.9. He also improved, but not the position in which he was at. The situation is that, although the gaps are very, very short among 4 drivers up top, I'm deliberately ignoring Eric Del Fante for obvious reasons. 20 milliseconds was still not enough for Picano to improve into a 4th place, and with 1 minute and 40 seconds to go, that's qualifying over for Picano. Number 9. I suppose it's a consequence of putting the wrong amount of fuel on the car, because that was bound to be at least a 2 laps effort in the qualifying run. Benson still hasn't set a single valid lap time, so he's for now in 27th only, without a lap. So maybe this one will be the only one, although he's still in the pits, so I don't think he will make a single lap anytime soon. I'm staying with Hubble at the moment because he's in 20th, in car number 20, 201.097, and he's improving by 0.3 of a second, which at the moment would let him jump by 5 places into the top 15. As Philip Richter has a 200.9. Next in line is Philip Resch, that's 0.7, and that's maybe just outside the limit, although Hubble just lost everything he had after the hairpin, after Force elbow. Probably that's not going to improve his position by 5 places, but maybe can improve something, as Diego De Marco just arrived at the finish line with a 0.7, and that's 3 positions higher than where he was. Willie Hubble, the 17th place at 0.950. Next in line with a huge improvement is Sasha Wasner, currently in 8th place. The LFM that will change livery next season, I'm quite sure about it. Or maybe not. Certainly it has changed in LMU. 2 positions gained for Sasha Wasner with a 0.052. Julke Van der Meer and Mattia Max also managed to set a non 2 minutes lap time. The amount of cars under 2 minutes is 4. only 4. When the gap's very, very short between Buscher and Max. And also I will add Van der Meer as the number 4 goes across the line to set 59. No, unfortunately it was just a 0.067. And it's very odd how connection with the server is actually jumping here and there, because OBS is not losing frames. Something is clearly not working, but I don't really know what. Aerial Fante improves even more, 59.220 for the Italian driver. You can see Van Rossem also improving a lot, but first Romain Skolbaf in 8th place at the moment, number 10. We have that has been driving Ilman's Ultimate as of lately. And he's set 0.185. It was an improvement. Yes, did he improve his own position? The answer is no. Lore Van Rossem, Ferrari 296 GT3, not the Evo version, and unfortunately will never arrive in ACC for obvious reasons. But Van Rossem here across the line for Laval Racing, and that's 9th place for Belgian. I think only Alexander remains. That's an improvement for Alexander by 4 places from 20th to 16th with a 0.780. And no one else remains. So that was the qualifying session in Bathurst. Now, in short time, we will start the race entirely. How do you beat that? You don't. That's why Aerial Fante is in the top of the leaderboard. Without any real surprise, to be fair, Del Fante has been in the top 4 exactly out of... let me count. So, out of the past 11 weeks, Del Fante raced in 8 of them, and he won 7 of them. So that gives you a good background about Del Fante's pace. And very likely, considering Bathurst is very much one of those tracks where qualifying is the most important part, I doubt we will see somebody else winning, but you never know, the walls are very close in race stream. Now we go into the grid. We will start with our leader. Can the grid work? Just have to refresh. Okay, yes. 159.220 for Aerial Fante in the Energy Sim Racing Honda. Then we got Jan Buscher behind in the Eurobeat Intensifies number 11. 59.722. TMX follows behind the car number 5 Alpha Racing Team with a 59.952. The number 5 will start ahead of Ulke Van der Meer in AX Racing Team, 59.9 for the 4 Honda. Then we got Sebastian Picano in the Okuni per GT Karting, number 9 BMW. Sasha Fasner follows behind in the Mustang, the LFM Sports Colors, 2 minutes 0.052. Capo, then Best Friends Experts, 2 minutes 0.127, that's car number 2 that is battling for the championship. Romain Skolbaf will start in 8th place for ARE Race Esports Team. The Frenchman will be ahead of Laurent Van Rossem in the number 6 in 9th place with a 0.2. And Jay Stevens, 38 Hondas. And Jay Stevens will then start in 10th place, the number 7 ahead of the number 8. Very kind. Sven Freitag in the Pit Speed Racing number 8, Wayne Ferreira will be behind in the number 22 Lexus. One Racing. And we got in the other Lexus. LK Motorsport Racing 20.6, number 12 Resh in the 18 Didier Racing Team with the default LFM livery. Diego De Marco, the Italian will start ahead of the other Ferrari, Opamio Racing Team, number 14. As Hunter will be behind in the 21 without a team, but in the Verstappen.com livery. We've got the other pit speed racing. McLaren number 19 will start in 17th place with Hubble in 20 in the car number 20 in 18th. Got into 19th place with his beautiful Tempo Esports. The Italian in the number 17 will start in 19th with Relagno in 20th. The 27 Ferrari. Then we've got the 24 Godzilla. The Nissan will be just in front of the number 13 Colorworks Racing Team. The German starting in 22nd. Vimuzar, the other pit speed racing, the Porsche, will be in 23rd. Then we've got Martin Smith here in the car number 25 in the American United Racing. The Canadian will start in 24th. The team name and the nationality is quite ironic. The Colorworks Racing Team, 25th place for the number 23. Then we've got Mutti, the Swiss, will be in 26th place. And without a lap time, in the 26th Mercedes in the GT Sports, that's Benny Benson. The German will conclude the full grid of cars. So yeah, I was correct. Yeah, it's actually a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine, not a V8. I was starting to doubt myself, but no, the Honda is actually a V6. The only V8, actually no, it doesn't exist. The only V10 is the one being used from, well, that was being used, consider the Huracan now goes into retirement by, well, the Huracan, and the Audi R8, which is also technically in retirement, but whatever, technically customer support doesn't exist, but the cars still run because they are quick and well, they were cheap, clearly, considering the factory teams exploded. So yeah, also the R8 is the best GT3 in my head. Quick preview at the racetrack. As always, I hope you will have a pleasant time. Let me know if the audio is for some reasons higher or lower than the usual, and also for some reason Ferreira has already jumped to 3 places, and not sure how. With he's starting in 9th, I'm pretty sure about that, so maybe he started lately and the race contest has to follow up? I don't know. I will see during the race. Also, you can see there are a couple of black number boards. Those ones are, from what I remember, it's actually streamer. Oh, it sounds good. Yay! As always, I consider I can't really hear it. It's always a question mark for me. It's been the same for ages, but every time I'm like, maybe this time is wrong for some reasons. Ian Buescher will start just behind Ariel Fante. Remember that the Ferrari will be on the outside into turn 1. But if Ian Buescher can resist on the outside, then into turn 2 will be the inside, and it's also an in-camber corner, so the inside is always going to be quick. Little addition, whoever is on the outside in turn number 2 will have a very difficult time because of the marbles on the outside, and I saw multiple drivers, multiple times, crashing into the wall, full speed because of the understeer. And also important, hotspot is going to be the one into turn number 4, into the cutting, because there is a high chance we will see somebody trying onto the outside for as long as it is difficult. But it is doable, trust me. It is perfectly doable. You just need a lot of momentum and a lot of ballast, let's say. Turn number 21 and 22 side by side as the cars are going in 2 lanes. Italian, then the German, then the Croatian, then the Dutchman, and then Picano that is not showing the flag. And Wasner, Paul, Kolbach, Ferreira and Varrosen to complete the top 10. Remember, this is the championship on the line for Paul and Wasner. With Wasner currently in 6th and his rival battling for the win in 7th. Let's have a look at them, but also remember that Delphante is battling for the podium against Van der Meer and Stevens, who is currently... Can't find him. In 11th place. And now, a huge gap between Delphante and the BMW behind. It's green light and away we go. Delphante already jumped the entirety of the leaderboard as the Honda NSX of Mattia Max comes back from the dead. Apparently it was invisible for some reasons. And the Ferrari on the outside actually went too much on the outside, losing some ground on the grass. And that's actually second place being lost for Ian Buescher, who is now battling with the Honda that was invisible earlier on. Mattia Max now second in the leaderboard. The number 5 ahead of the 11 with Van der Meer and then Picano and then Wasner, all of them one after the other one, and there were a couple of overtakes going on in 11th place with Miguel Silverio in the Lexus number 12 being ahead of Wayne Ferreira in the primarily white Lexus, now on the outside, getting overtaken by Wayne Ferreira in the Pit Speed Racing number 22. That is the Porsche that can't put the overtake in 100% completion. Now back into the front of the field because we got Ian Buescher behind the Honda NSX, the V6 throwing shade at Buescher in the Ferrari, then the Honda behind, and then Picano following in the Lime BMW. Then we got Wasner and Poe battling for a win of the championship. So that's going to be an interesting battle. Right now, already a second point forward between Max and Delphante, with Delphante absolutely destroying the field. And he is also battling for the podium. We'll keep on saying it. I think never, because I think I already said it twice, so it's more than enough. But still, Ian Buescher now into the inside line to make the overtake. Maybe into the chase, it will be the Ferrari ahead of the Honda, but right now it is the Ferrari ahead of the Honda actually. He resisted on the outside, with Jamie in the inside, and Buescher managed to set the overtake. Oh, that's also rivals at Swords, because oh, that's Poe off! That's Poe into the gravel! Disaster for the championship! With Poe that really destroyed his own race by going wide into the last corner, and that's the number 2 in 11th place. Disaster for this season long battle, because Poe right now is in 11th place, and Sasha Wasner all of a sudden looks at a possible win in the championship. Remember that with the drop rounds, you have to account for the only drop round that can be counted for Poe, the only drop rounds, sorry, which is as this stands at 11:44 and a 12:16 point finish, so 10th and 8th. I think also there was an incident. It was Alexander losing some ground. He's currently in 24th place, back into the traffic. Let's have a quick look at it, because the number 21 had an incident. It's quite clear. Let's see what happened. To the heli can we go? He was battling with a Ferrari. That was, I think, the 22. That would be Wayne Ferreira. No, this was not Wayne Ferreira. That was ahead of Hubble. That was Philippe Resch. In 18, there was a slight tap. And actually, it was the Ferrari losing the rear, as I said earlier, over the marbles. And the track and the grip on track is way less than the usual. The rear end slipped off, and this was the Ferrari into the wall while trying an overtake onto the outside on Philippe Resch. Is 15th place, number 18. So back into the top of the field. Eric Delphante already has a 2-second advantage over Ian Buescher. At this point, it is just incredible. Mattia Max follows Buescher a second behind. Ulke Van der Meer follows in 4th, and then Sebastian Picano as close as he gets. Split account for us, because the number 9 could have a chance into 4th place. Last lap it was at 01.6, 01.7 for Van der Meer and Max. So Picano slightly quicker than his rivals. Probably not enough to attempt an overtake. But that's in the middle of the pack. We got Laurent Van Rossem behind Jay Stevens, in front of Miguel Silverio for 9th place. As we go into the hairpin, into the cutting to number 4. And Capo only 11th. Capo only 11th as it stands. I'd like to see if there is a way to see the mistake. I don't have a way to do so. Was trying the overtake on the outside on Sasha Wasner. Which had the opposite effect. So from a battle for position, it went down to a loss of around 5 places. Lance here in 18th place, ahead of the GTR, and then Modica behind in 21st. I'd like to go back into the battle for 4th, because as you can see, Sebastian Picano was thinking about it, only from a distance. Then he decided on staying behind and maybe keeping the bullet for a second target. There was also a possible overtake here between the Mark and Ferreira, but oh, never mind what I said, as Ferreira just made a mistake, so this allows the Italian in the Ferrari, that's the Marco in the 14, into the inside it goes, a little tap between the two. The Lexus remained in position number 13. We go back into battle for 2nd place, because Jan Buscher is battling hard against Max, Ferrari against Honda. Mid-engine for both of them. The engine is not... Oh, there's a cut off! That's Ulke van der Meer into the wall! That's Ulke van der Meer into the wall! And Picano also. So both of them, disaster for them. And also Win Ferreira involved in the very same incident by crashing into the Honda. It was stopped on the outside. What just happened here to Van der Meer? Disaster for the Dutch driver that was battling for the podium. That's a retirement for the number 4. Let's have a look at it from the helicam. See what happened. So we got Van der Meer ahead of Picano. I just saw the remain of it live from the replay. We can see that. Oh, this was Picano. This was Picano definitely going long on the brakes and crashing into the Honda. And afterwards, things went horribly worse. We'll have a look at helicam, because then you will see the Lexus number 22. Those Wayne Ferreira going onto the outside, maybe a bit long in his own line. And that was also Ronald Rossem losing several places in a jiffy. And this is the reason for it. So that was the Ferrari ahead of the Lexus. Then goes for the overtake. That is Miguel Silverio. And the 06 was slightly long, trying to outbrake the Lexus, but by doing so, the position on Capo was actually lost. Now back into live. Capo just gained at least 1 place. The next one is Miguel Silverio, position number 7. So you can park there. I mean, yes. Quite an important situation for Honda, which effectively is a retirement at this point. But this will be at 0 for Van der Meer. And this makes the 920 the drop round, because the last 2 rounds were at 0. So I'm trying to see if... Okay, no, that's already the position Del Fante lost. If it ends like this. It's already the position Del Fante lost. Effectively, if you think about it, Del Fante has a chance of winning the championship, to be fair. So the drop rounds. There are 3 drop rounds, and Delfante effectively didn't participate in the first 3. Earlier on, I actually omitted this important thing. So we could actually see Delfante battling for the win of the championship ultimately. That's why the situation about drop rounds is slightly difficult. Because I have to account even for people that didn't participate in certain races. So as it stands, Delfante is well in his shoes to put together a masterpiece by winning the championship. Because effectively on the rounds being counted, actually counting 4 zeros, but because this one still hasn't happened. So again, Delfante can still set at 0 by crashing into the wall or disconnecting or DNFing in any way. It's very much on the line for both Delfante and at this point I will say Wasner because of Poe's situation. As Modica has gained 1 place on Hoffman, as Hunter is trying something similar on the car in 21st. As Habold has a yellow flag, and that's the BMW sideways. Another incident, but this time it was the BMW number 20, Willie Habold. What just happened here? Let's have a look. The bonnet cam. I think he lost it in the rear and then crashed into the wall sideways. Ultimately, that's how it ended. For Habold, 26 right now, as Jay Stevens just gained the place on Romain Colbaf with a contact apparently between the 2 cars, the number 7 and number 10. How it happened? This was Amorin actually overtaking on the outside. It was a little tap apparently, but I don't think anything too unnecessary. Okay, it was just the tiniest of touches. And so Jay Stevens is now in position number 5, and behind it was Miguel Silverio losing the position on Poe, that on the inside he goes. And this actually puts Very in a terrible position, and because of that, Bathurst also gained back the position on the Lexus driver. Lance behind also made and created and finished the overtake on Vimosar in the 16 Speed Racing Porsche. It was an overtake for 15th place, as Relagno also lost 2 places. That's another incident. Another incident was Alex Hunter and Martin Smith colliding, I'm pretty sure. And Smith managed to stay ahead of the Ferrari in the Verstappen.com livery. That's for 22nd place. Sebastian Picano. Oh, again into the wall. Sebastian Picano again into the wall. Not good for the number 9. Quick look at it. If it was an issue of himself or if it was the Porsche behind that helped a bit. Have a look from the, that was definitely the BMW crashing into the wall by itself. So Picano, with tremendous damage on the front end of the car, will have to resist for the whole time. So as it stands currently, we would have very difficult, I will be honest. We would have Delfante with 1,400 points more, setting him at 12,560 points and effectively winning the championship. Capo currently has to be subtracted the 1144 because he is in 7th place. And I think also the 12-16, so that should actually be 8th place if I remember correctly. So it will be slightly more than what it is right now. I think around 11,900, maybe shy of 12,000. And Sasha Wagner will have... Oh, there is a massive crash! Massive incident behind. Oh, there's another car into the wall. That's Jay Stevens. Also involved in the incident with Svein Freitag, another Ferrari getting involved. That's Diego De Marco and Philip Stresch trying to cut the corner. Disaster in the middle of the pack while I was accounting for the points. Porsche is off. That's Svein Freitag and Jay Stevens both involved in the incident. With Ferreira also slow. I think that's for avoiding the cars. What just happened here in the middle of the pack? Jay Stevens in the Lamborghini. Let's have a look. Maybe this is already too late. No, it is not too late. But let's have a look. The replay will talk for itself. Oh, that's the rear into the grass. The car that then went pinball. Everybody had to brake. All of a sudden with a Porsche that just went through. Trying to survive. But nothing could have been done. And right now, Svein Freitag in the number 8 was involved in the incident massively. And he is not going to be happy about it. Straight into the pits. No, he will remain outside of the pits somehow. We'll see the replay again after this overtake between the Lexus number 12. Miguel Silverio onto the inside he goes, and that's Loren Van Rossem losing the position on Silverio. The Lexus gaining 1 place. And Capo behind in 8th place. I really want to see again the incident from another position, preferably the Porsche's one point of view, but still, let me keep the camera on Paul at the moment because Van Rossem could lose the position in the S's. Maybe not, definitely not. Let's have a look from the 14 point of view. On the onboard, we are with Diego De Marco. Will give us a look at it, but I'm more interested about Svein Freitag. Oh yeah, he just stole the car at the very last moment. Couldn't really do anything about it. We go back live. Because Paul is probably going to overtake Ferrari. It doesn't. Philip Resch at the same time, and Diego De Marco maybe no. There was a chance. The car is clearly damaged. Last lap it was a 0.1.7 for Kolbach, 0.1.4 for Silverio, 0.2.2 for Van Rossem, and 0.1.9 for Paul. I don't think any change in position will happen here. But I told you the walls are closer than what you think. And unfortunately both Jay Stevens and Svein Freitag, obviously innocent part in the kerfuffle. But he's now into the pits to try to repair the car at this point just to finish the race. And that could happen anytime, as Relagno also, yellow flag, as Relagno loses the position on Miff. Mercedes going on the outside. De Marco also slow again, but this time it was on the very same slot as earlier. with a Lamborghini, but this time he survives it. Nothing will evolve after that. See now if Poe could handle pressure and maybe overtake ahead, and that's Rossem losing the position. Poe gaining it with 0-6. They tried maybe something different, maybe a cutback. It didn't work at the beginning, and maybe into the final corner, into Murray's corner. No, actually, to remain as they are. So that's Poe ahead of Rossem. Silverio that still is behind Kolbach. That's now in 4th, about 6 seconds ahead of McLaren number 10, and consequently the 12 Lexus is behind the number 2 Mercedes ENG, trying to run away from the Ferrari behind, but that's not a thing certain at the moment. Currently the Lexus goes onto the outside, the number 12, and Silverio has to remain behind. Here's the cam for us. Maybe into the inside, maybe into the outside. Can really change here. The two that are still one after the other. Considering it's a 90-minute race, pit window will be different, and so the pit stops will. As both Alexander and Sven Freitag came out of the pits. It was a very lengthy pit stop for both of them. 171 seconds, more, nearly 3 minutes long to be fair, on Hunter's name, whereas it was nearly a minute for Freitag. In fact, only to repair the car. Gasly was earlier on battling with Kolbach, and now all of a sudden, half a track later, it is Poe who is putting pressure on Silverio. The Lexus now has to defend against Silverio. Disconnected for a moment. Apparently there are some connection issues in the server. Just faint ones, but there seems to be some. Because Hero right now is currently in the lead apparently, but obviously he is not. And as he will cross the sector line, you can see back into 6th place. So Silverio right now effectively changing the priority to Mercedes behind. You can see several cars gained several places. That's because of an incident earlier on. I'll try to put back live, but it's obviously going to be the replay, and I'll try to analyze the situation, how it exactly unfolded from various point of views, but I still need some kind of calmness, which apparently there isn't one right now. Even if there are only 25 cars on track, and realistically only 23 battling for positions. Dario was thinking about a possible move, but he can't because Kolbach was tactically putting the car as annoyingly as possible. Now the 12 has to either find another way or well, find another way. As Modica is off into the grass, he lost 2 places on 2 cars from 14th into 16th. Ultimately in this final lap time, it was a 0.1.4 for both Silverio and Poe. 1.6 for Kolbach and a 1.7 for Van who at this point is just staying behind Auto Troubles. I would say cleverly, considering that Poe will probably initiate a discussion, let's say, with Silverio ahead. The Lexus was... Oh, that's a contact with the wall, I think, for the number 2. Was it? Probably. Probably was. I'm also seeing the McLaren going a bit wide, but I think Kolbach is actually using the wider line to gain some advantage on the straight, which seems to be working. And for the first time, I'm not seeing red. Okay, never mind. There's one here because Silverio's car is very quick in a straight line. Remember that both Rosen and Poe are battling for the championship, but also Delfante that could jump from 5th to 1st because of the drop rounds. Again, apologies for beginning of the stream, but I think I have to account for drop rounds. At times I don't see past. So, oh, that's a 15 off. That's Benjamin Muti. Real situation there. What happened? No, not place 2. The loudness of this car is deafening. So he's just losing the rear. Yeah, very odd. Wood effectively lost the rear end by himself. Okay, we can go back to the battle for 5th, but this one is not really moving. For now it is still same scenario as oh, hello gents, welcome in the international broadcast. I suspect something happened to the German broadcaster. In any case, welcome. You will have the Italian voice for tonight. So back to Poe's situation. It seems to be... Okay. I saw a white flag and I was panicking. There has been an incident also between Relagni and Ferreira. I'll put the replay afterwards. Let's see if Poe can get ahead of Silverio and Slash or Kolbach. Because Lexus is trying to enter inside in a very difficult position, and now also the Mercedes is going on the left side of the Lexus. Contact between the two cars. There isn't enough space for both of them to be in the very same place on track, but the Mercedes will have the better hand in this poker game. And not only that, but also Van Rossem, who was behind, waiting for an effective mistake from the Lexus, which actually tries to come back on the Mercedes, but it doesn't do so. And Miguel Silverio will eventually remain in position number 7. Not only that, but as I was saying, the Ferrari, which cleverly remained behind, could all of a sudden find itself in the battle for 6th, unless Silverio defends well, which he seems to be doing. For now, really remains in 7th place. So let's have a look at what happened earlier. In the 27 and another car, which was the 22. Let's have a look. We are into a part of the racetrack. Slightly onto the wall. Slightly wide. Over the grass. Oh, into the wall. Can't into the wall. And the Lexus behind also skillfully avoided the incident. So that's what happened to Relagno. And for the yellow flag, that's the reason why Muti right now just overtook Omar Relagno. Same place. Also we got Filippo Resch here battling for 11th. And just behind Jason Lance, also battling for 11th. with Rash quite long on the hairpin, the little tap on Diego De Marco, which is allowing for Jason Lenz to pass by. That's the 13 in the Aston Martin for Colorworks Racing Team in 11th place. Philip Rash was quite slow out of the hairpin, and this could develop into the McLaren. Also thinking about the move, but there isn't enough space apparently. So the McLaren will try again, maybe? No, not yet. McLaren remains behind and waits for it. Meanwhile, Modica ahead of Mimosar, taking a different route out of turn 22. Is in position both Modica and Hoffman. Hippo here. Still battling for position number 5. .3 last lap for Poe, 1.7 for Wasner, for Kolbach. Wasner is 6.4 seconds ahead. With an hour to go, it's not impossible to see Poe back in contention for position with Wasner. That was a little tap on the wall. Not clear, not completely clear, at least for versus driver. Parts flying by. The diffuser creating those sparkles. And composition behind there is also Jason Lenz and Diego De Marco battling for the 10th place. I think there is a high probability for Capo to create the opportunity and also to complete the opportunity. Let's go on board. The best friends experts, the McLaren gives the bit undecided there. It was a bit of a question of which side Kolbach wanted to take. Ultimately, he chose for both. As Jason Lenz also managed to overtake on the outside Diego De Marco. That is for 10th place. De Marco, remember, that has some damage from the incident from earlier on, which I will put on replay after the situation calms down a bit. Right now, it is not calm enough. I'm quite surprised by Picano keeping the pace, even by effectively crashing the car twice into the wall. Miguel Silverio back on counter-offensive. Yes, but not completely. It was clearly an idea. The completion of the very said idea up to debate. McLaren, that's still it's like unstable. I won't say unstable, but definitely unstable. Compared to the Mercedes, which usually it's the opposite. Because usually the number 2 has a very aggressive setup to everybody else. But you can see the Mercedes taking different lines, maybe hoping for a mistake on Kolbach's name to set forward an attack. Oh, that's possibly the mistake he was waiting for. The McLaren very loose on entry. It seems like the car is understeer rather than oversteer. Have a look here again, a wide line at this point. I'm not entirely sure if it's a good tactic considering how close Poe is. And I'm also starting to think that the wide line is not even a tactic. This is rather a necessity considering the understeery setup the McLaren has. Quite evident. Let's go now into the inside, which is going to be the outside. The number 2 will break slightly after the McLaren that sends the Mercedes into the grass. It's quite clear that Kolbach doesn't really want the Mercedes to pass by, and that's also Miguel Silverio losing the position on Lord Van Rossem, who in a bit of a cheeky way tries to take the position out of Silverio, but once again Silverio is on the right side of the table and uses the inside line to his advantage. At the same time also Philip Rash overtook Diego De Marco for 11th place, as Miguel Silverio is back in 7th. Rossem that set foot in 7th place for a grand total of around 2 seconds. as the pit window is now open and the GTR number 24 is thinking about a move that is not happening. With Philip Richter and Diego De Marco in 13th and 12th respectively. The pit window is now open, so this means that the cars will have to pit in those 20 minutes of time. The McLaren behind is a bit long, but the fact there is an incident there. And Daniele Modica, completely out of balance, crashed into the GTR. And he just lost another 2 places. 24 still stuck in the second corner. Let's have a look from Modica's point of view. Let's see what happened. So the Italian just behind 24, and then Modica slows down. Actually, I think the 24 was not clear. From a different camera, it seemed like the Italian just went through the Nissan, but from a different perspective. Oh, that's the ones are also yellow flags, so maybe contact with the wall from Vionzar. He just lost the position number 15 on Daniele Modica. As we are getting closer and closer to midway point, Diego De Marco just lost another place. The damage on the front end of the car is not really helping. And if you're wondering why there is damage on the front end of the car, I can show you. Can I? I cannot anymore. Unfortunate. The Lexus is on the outside. And something different, but that something different will lead to once again Van Rossem applying pressure on Miguel Silverio, but this time the move is effective and the Lexus is behind the Ferrari. Van Rossem now in 7th place. He managed to eventually get ahead of Lexus driver. Unfortunately, I cannot show the replay from the earlier accident in which several cars were involved at the top of the mountain. More importantly, Jay Stevens and Sven Freitag, who Stevens was battling for a podium position. There was a faint chance, but there was one. The Lexus is now back into the inside line, trying to apply pressure and to maybe get something out of the situation. Just unfolded here, but Van Rossem is pending well, not really giving any chance to the Lexus driver. Meanwhile, Hoffman and De Marco, with De Marco losing another place. The Porsche number 23 that gets 13th. Elefante here still in 1st place, the car number 1. Lap 0.785. With nobody that really is able to reach him. And here we got still the very same battle from earlier. 7th with the same result. We go inside. Car. Have a look. Possible move that Silverio can craft. I think Poe's incident from earlier, I do remember. Oh, that's another contact. I do remember Poe making a huge dent on the car earlier here in the mountain section downhill. Of course, I didn't think it was that bad. But as you can see now, the gap between Poe and Korbach is a 2.8. The last lap for Poe was at 0.1.8. the slowest of the 4 battling for 5th place. Whereas the 2 here still battling. Awesome, defending well. And the Lexus that chooses a different approach by going into the pits. Going to be very in the pits. And he's going to be the first of the top guys to shoot his shot. And we will then see how things will develop. Philip Resch gains 2 places by also overtaking Jason Lenz, who had the very same idea of pitting. Right now, 48 minutes to go. Effectively half a race yet in the making. Gaps are quite large. This stands only Rossem is somewhat close to the next car. Radio goes back on the racing surface ahead of Alexander, who is on his 3rd stop. Now it will be interesting to see if Verio will be able to virtually overtake the rival cars. Or if Poe, Rossem, I would also say Kolbach will be able to remain ahead of the number 12. You can see also that some cars didn't really survive the mountain. But I had an incident in turn number 4 with Sebastian Piccolo, whereas Chris Stevens had a massive incident at the top of the mountain, which also involved Sven Freitag and Diego De Marco, currently in 21st place. Eventually put both cars out of contention, while J. Stevens is a direct DNF for tonight. This happened in lap number 7. Wonder if I can just jump back to the action that once happened. It was a lot of time ago, where it was 15 minutes into the session. We are now 45 into it. So midpoint race. 10 minutes yet to go for the pit lane to be open, and many are into the pits except Capo and Eric Delfant. I will also say that yeah, definitely still out on track. Don't think he really cares about it at this point, considering his massive advantage over everybody else. In the pits, it's going to be interesting to see who decides to repair the car, because that's the only variable. Rush, I'm in 4th. But more importantly, let me get a premium seat on Miguel Silverio's question, because he pitted. He remained in the pits for 2 seconds more, so probably an incorrect placement of the car. Ian Bush now out of the pit lane. MX same. Fasner also back on track. Kolbuff that might be able to remain ahead. And not enough. There are 2 cars there. Not a 3rd one. It's because Poe is in 2nd, remember. But unfortunately, I think outlap went terribly wrong for Silverio, even because Kolbuff's pit stop was actually not that good. 35 seconds compared to 32.4 for Rossem. Would have been jackpot for Silverio, but something in the outlap must have been incorrect. As both Poe and Picano are into the pits, and the Resh also following. 8 times the gap between Kolbuff and Varrosen. Varrosen could actually have a chance at getting ahead of the McLaren driver. Would open the doors for that 7 seconds gap on Sasha Vasner in, obviously right now in 12th place, but we're looking at a possible top 5. Excursion for McLaren driver, and that was 0 and to see what's very 0.3.5. So yeah, that's why he is behind on schedule. He had a not so great lap time 0.3 earlier on, and now at 0.1.2. No, wait, was it 0.3? Oh, apologies, that was another car. Yeah, okay. The video had a 0.1.2, 0.1.7, but the outlap, it was 257.7. We are on the same lap as Kolbuff. Maybe it was actually an in-lap, the problem. The problem might have been the in-lap, ultimately. Nobody repaired the car, except the expected ones. So we are talking about Vimosar. 18 seconds more. We're talking about Picano that repaired the car for a total of 26 seconds more. Really pressure on 10 seconds more in the pits. And DeMarco, which is actually DeMarco didn't repair the car, oddly enough. And then Relagno that remained into the pit stall for another 20 seconds to repair the car. Will be it as Eric Elefante is crossing the pit lane. Is it a drive-thru? Oh no, okay. It was a 32.5 seconds pit stop. Nothing to report. Also, I just recognized what's well, I recognized it earlier, but for all the Italians that are watching the race, I like the bonnet. Let's just say I really like the bonnet there. Pusher 10 seconds behind Elefante. Max follows another 7. Will Ferreira still has to pit. He is outside of the equation. Sasha Wasner is... Ooh, this is actually interesting. Oh, is now 5 seconds behind Wasner. So in 40... apologies, in 39 minutes of racing, those 5 seconds can be cut. A high chance for that to happen. In the meantime, I want to see if I can do something. Probably a no. I want to try to see if I can do it. Actually can. Oh yeah, I can actually do it. Let's have a look. Oh, what happened here? They found a way. Let me just give you an excursion of it all. We are looking at Jay Stevens. This is the incident that created the whole mayhem. You can see the Lamborghini going into the grass, crashing into the wall, and going back on the racing surface. Unfortunately, the Lexus contact was there, and also there was Diego De Marco and in Freytag hitting the Lamborghini. Then Freytag in the end tried to get back on track, which he did eventually. It was very difficult. And Alex Santer, who was involved in an incident, but apparently not this one. This is exactly what happened earlier on to Dan Freytag, Jay Stevens, and Diego De Marco, which I will be honest, I didn't think the damage was that heavy on De Marco's car. Apparently it was. Apparently it really was. I'm surprised I managed to go back in time so far. Unfortunately, the first part of the incident is difficult to gain, but because of the helicam unfortunately placed in a terrible place. The camera made the job, but you could see that it was completely innocent. Nothing was made on purpose. It was a simple racing incident. Took out a couple of cars. Well, Buff's last lap was at 01.1, 01.0 for Van Rossem. Considering the last 3 laps, don't have really much to report. It was the very same pace, so I'm starting to actually think that Kolbach is slower than the Ferrari behind, with the Ferrari that might have... Oh, car into the wall. Car into the wall. It was Philip Resch on number 18. Unfortunately, don't have the replay in hand, so I have to do this. Let's see what happened. Philip Resch was a bit too much ago. Ooh, the incident there was heavy. With Ferrari losing the rear end on the curb. Definitely an odd place in which to make an incident. And ultimately Resch is now in the pits. You can see here. So that's there for Resch as Benson just lost 1 place. Seems like it. As I was saying, back into the battle for 6th place. As Ferreira is also back on the racing line. He just went into the pits and came out in 15th place. It's behind Smith.
Pit window is now closed.
And as soon as the pit window closes, everybody repeat their mandatory pit stop. With Poe that ultimately managed to cut the gap to 3.8 seconds. It was 7 something. Oh, another incident. Got Daniele Modica with a yellow flag. Number 17 was not happy. Let's see why. So we got the McLaren going a bit wide there, surviving. Was it all? No, it wasn't. Another contact with the wall. Car loose on entry. Here 1.1, 01.0 for Kolbach Varrosen. Then we've got the battle for 4th at this point. An effective battle because 01.2 for Wasner and 0.8 for Poe. Unreachable. Eric Delfante. Third place, 11 seconds up front. Passes love of the race. He has been in the lead for the entirety of the race. He's not really having any issue right now. The Marco on the other side of the racetrack is actually having many issues considering he didn't repair the car. Now Vimosar overtook the Italian driver with Benny Benson also close on doing the same. In this case I really don't understand why the Marco didn't pit early on in the pit window to let's put the car back in one piece. Maybe a gamble, maybe he thought that he wasn't losing enough. But clearly he was losing enough. Now Marco finds himself in 18th place only, soon to be 19th. Not yet. Definitely soon to be 19th place as Eric Delfante just set another purple. Just to address the fact that he is the quickest. With a 0.1. It's just a challenge with himself to try to get under the 2 minutes. I just hope it doesn't end in the car upside down while going downhill on the top of the mountain. As Relagno actually sets a yellow flag. I think it was actually... yeah, it was definitely slowing down for Delfante's pass by. Delfante, which remember, if it ends like this is the championship for the Italian. I'm very keen on the situation in the championship, considering the drop rounds. It's very difficult to keep pace of what exactly is happening. As the Mercedes number 26 still trying to get ahead. Of the Marco. This time it didn't manage to do so. As the time passes by, Willy Hubble is also back in fight. Barry Hoffman slow on track. That's a mistake. Varrosen still behind the McLaren, the McLaren which seems to be slightly quicker than his rival. In the straights, at least. Although, I'm not entirely sure. I should have to look at the entire race lap. Get a proper idea. You see, the last laps were basically the copy of one another. 01.2, 01.1, 01.2, 01.3 time for both 367, 385. Nothing really changes. Hubbled on the other side of the racetrack actually set an overtake. In a very difficult spot also. How did it happen? Look at it. We're looking at... Oh. Okay, that was odd. Benson literally leaving position for Hubble to fill in. Maybe it was a contact from earlier on. Now Hubble entered inside contact with the Ferrari. Predat is going out of the racetrack, cutting into the grass, a little shortcut for the Marco, but that's also the position lost on both Hubble and Benson and Muti. Now in 20th, leaving the Marco, the second to last car on single pit stop. Omar Relagno 20 seconds behind, and Sven Freitag, who had 2 pit stops, another 22 behind. In 6th place, something is starting to change because Barroso is not really able to solve the situation, I would say, with Kolbach. And a slight issue is that Silverio is really getting closer to them. 1.8 between Silverio and Barroso. With another 7 tenths between the McLaren and the Ferrari. The situation is not really changing between the Belgian, the number 10. But it has to, otherwise Silverio will be big trouble for the Belgian driver. Meanwhile, 3.1 seconds. Every single lap 3 times are getting cut from that gap. As it stands, those 3 seconds will become 0 in 10 lap time. 7 minutes away from the finish line. Ooh, that was a terrible line for Kolbach. And maybe this is the time for Varros. Never mind. To hype it up. The McLaren is very good at defending. It's been clear for an entire hour at this point that the McLaren is good at this. And this is just helping Silverio. Okay, not this lap, to be fair, because Silverio just lost 3 times in a single corner. But this could have been very helpful for Silverio if it was in another lap. In any other, to be fair. Yeah, because the lap earlier it was a 0.1.7 for Kolbach, 0.1.3 for Silverio. Changing things up. Since there is also a possibility that the eventual battle between Bazen and Poe will lead to either of the 3 also involved in another tech scenario. Meanwhile, Muti just completed a pass on Benson, that is for 19th place. Number 15. Benjamin Muti. We'll keep ahead here. .6, 1.4. Damn, Silverio was actually slower than the 2. And Buescher slow on track. Just lost an entire second. I'm also looking at the gap between these 2. Maybe this time this will change unless Varrosen doesn't change things up, which it seems to be happening. Matter of fact, Varrosen remains behind. I'm really feeling on the McLaren just being very quick on the straight. As I said earlier, the McLaren is slightly loose on exit and then still on entry. In the corners, except the corners, the car is quick. Luckily for him, can't really make a pass in the corners here. As long as he stays ahead will have an easy time. Ian Bucher ultimately went long into turn number 1, but he has a 7 seconds gap on the following car, and he is 16 seconds behind Delfante, so ultimately that second is not really an issue for him. Delfante, who is now crossing the line for the 32nd time. In Bush is behind. Third place right now for Mattia Max. Schaffner is looking at the gap behind him, and I kind of think that maybe in the mirror is realistically going to be a problem. Paul follows Kolbach on the 7 seconds behind with Van Rossem and Silveri at this point. One full group battling for position. Every time gives me a view at what happens. Every time I think a move is going to happen, as it stands, nothing is happening. Wayne Ferreira is probably going to overtake Smith. Martin Smith here. Well, Smith was actually starting in 24th place. He didn't even set a lap time. If I remember correctly. This was not Martin Smith, apologies, that was Benny Benson. As apparently, the only time I'm not looking at it, there is a contact between Kolbach and Van Rossem. With Van Rossem that was trying onto the outside. Astonishing how the only time I'm not looking at it, something is happening. This is the reverse commentator's course. So this time, very clear that the two were battling, while Wayne Ferreira managed to get in front of Martin Smith. And the Marco yellow flag another time. Seems like a self-inflicted incident, this one here. 22 minutes to go. And the lap time will probably be likely ruined for both Van Rossem and Kolbach. I can say the same about Silverio because he was just behind looking at it and yeah, it's not that bad thing to happen. Like there's a chance for a double overtake there. At the same time this is happening. This is going to happen. Basner has a 2.5 advantage over Paul. And that is for 4th place. I don't think 3rd place is going to be possible for Paul, although he has been quicker than part of the top 3. Obviously I'm ignoring completely the one car that is a league above the others. Kolbach right now trying to fade away, and the mark again, another yellow flag. Seems like another incident there for Italian. Although I think Delfante was actually involved there. Yeah, correct. That's the one between Vazen and Poe is a battle for 2nd in the championship, technically. It could be the lead of the championship, because I'm still considering Delfante not as if he was not finishing the race. It will be the battle for the lead, but if Delfante finishes the race in the 1st place, which is apparently going to happen, then the battle for 4th place is actually the battle for 2nd in the championship. It's very difficult with the drop rounds to do a commentary in, and also the Ferrari, while I was speaking, was trying to destroy its own race by going over the curb, and I think bottoming down a tiny bit with the diffuser. So yeah, it's effectively a double championship implication, this one here. For 3rd place, Stevens and Van der Meer would have been plausible names, but they are both DNFing from the race, so I don't think something will happen in that regard. Here on the outside, Alexis thinks about it. Charles Leclerc's experience, considering everybody's making overtakes on the outside. But number 6, this time had to lose a lot of time by defending for position, and Kolba finally briefs some... Oh, Philip pressure. Number 18, what is he doing here? What's an incident? Let's see. That goes over the grass. Oh, that's going to be bad. Okay, luckily the gravel covered part of the mistake. Although that's still 24th place for Resch. Oh, Varasem was quite wide there, probably giving a look on the mirror that ultimately put the car a bit unstable. Again, you can see it's slightly wide. Who is already crying about the BOP? I mean, I'm not... this is not WEC. You can complain about BOP without receiving a fine. Lexus right now is really trying as best as possible. I was saying, Romain Buff really breathing some fresh air after not seeing the Ferrari in the mirror because of how big it was on there. And now Silverio on the right side of the Ferrari taking Varasem's position, and now in the battle for 6th, completing the overtake instantly. Maybe not. Maybe a little too soon. Likely too early, because now Varasem is back into the inside, and he answers by going back into 7th place. There is a contact maybe between the two. Actually, there is a contact between the Lexus and the Ferrari, with the Ferrari that has to stay behind, and ultimately the position goes to Silverio, although there's also the battle here of position between Sasha Wasner and Poe, with Wasner in the number 3 Mustang covering the inside already into turn number 2. And Poe that has to stay behind. This is for the podium positions in the championship. Extremely important for the points standings. Because this is for 4th place. Wasner's other drop runs are at 0. And Poe's drop runs are effectively less than 8th. So these will count for both of them. And going to set who is in 2nd and who is in 3rd as it stands, with Enrico Elefante winning the championship if he wins the race. Because again, with 60 minutes to go, you never know, it could actually be for the lead of the championship, hypothetically. Or will not conveniently let him instead go wide to defend. I mean, the whole race, the whole championship has been pretty physical at times, so this is just up to the stewards to decide. I'm just here to put emphasis on what happens on track. And I'm enjoying it, I will be honest, but yeah. Defending while going quote-unquote wide has been quite a trend for the championship, so not really a surprise at this point. But unless the excuse is not, I was ahead at the apex. In that case, it's an instant ban. Poe doesn't get in front of Wasner, while Varrossem this time is going into the inside line with Silverio that was slightly wide in the last corner, and Varrossem ultimately will be able to get back in front of the Lexus. Meanwhile, here on the other side of the straight, 1 kilometer long, we got the Mercedes on the outside that tries something impossible into turn number 2, which, matter of fact, doesn't really happen. Meanwhile, back here, because Silverio is back in 7th place ahead of Varrossem. Both of them have been incredible fights. Meanwhile, also Picano overtakes Jason Lenz for 9th place. You can see the gap. It's quite clear. It's centimeters away. I think it's about 20. Now it's slightly more. But for a moment it was about 20 centimeters, the difference between 4th and 5th on track, or 2nd and 3rd in the championship. We'll see how it will evolve. Wagner, car number 3. Poe, car number 2. Little incident at the very beginning of the race that set Poe in 11th place by going wide in the last corner. He managed to come back to go through incidents, literally cars in the middle of the racetrack. And this all settles here for position number 4 on track, which will decide the podium positions in the championship, with Capo going to the inside, which then becomes the outside, with a Mustang that conveniently goes slightly wide to cover the racing line, with that's a Mercedes going over the curb, losing some speed, possibly on exit, but gaining the inside line into the final 90-degree corner, left-hander, slightly wide for Wagner there to complete lap number 37. It's still a side-by-side between the two. It was very difficult to contain. Wagner ultimately managed to remain in 4th place. Severio still in 7th. This is a graphical glitch. I think it's going to remain like this in 7th. Whereas here, not entirely sure what's going to happen with Wagner, that for now remains ahead of Poe. Although you can see the gap is very little between the two. Merc on duty air, yeah, definitely the Merc is by definition slightly understeery, and the dirty air is not going to have a pleasant time. Also worn tires, definitely thing to consider. With the Mustang, oh, huge shunt into the wall for Poe. Maybe a bit too overconfident on his racing lines. And that's a slight setback for the number 2. But we'll have to recover the damage. Not in a physical sense, but at least in terms of time, considering now there is a second between Poe and Wagner. Whereas here in 7th place, the gap is now 4 seconds to Kolbach. These two have completely ignored the chance to get into 6th place. Oh yeah. Okay, maybe you were right. Radio has completely clean air in front. Russell behind. Slightly gapped from earlier. The gap is now half a second. Silverio lift and costing. I wonder if there is a fuel problem. Because lift and costing is not really something that you do in ACC unless there is a possible fuel issue. I wonder if Silverio is short on fuel, maybe just to protect a chance for the issue is going slightly slower. We will see. Meanwhile here, still 2 following the 3 into Griffin's band. Can the Mercedes make something in the cutting? The answer is still no. But it's obvious that something is in the making. Because Poe has been extremely quick for the whole time. Again, very close to the wall. Maybe there was a tap with the left shoulder. The car's left shoulder against the wall. But if there was one, it was a very faint one. 1.6 in the last lap for Wagner, 1.9, but at this point the lap time is completely useless. Not even in the tower, because I'm counting the distance in meters, and at times even less than that. And now into the longest straight, into the Conrad straight, 1.9 kilometers long. Full send into 280 kilometers per hour. 186, 87 at times. Not sure if much else is possible in race conditions, at least. Obviously, Eric Delfante right now is just somewhere else. Picano. Oh, Picano is off! The number 9. That's a DNF. That's a possible DNF for Picano, who crashed into the hairpin, and it is indeed a DNF for Sebastian Picano. We will see the replay afterwards, because this could explode any second now. Sebastian Picano, DNF. Same goes for DeMarco, that ultimately retired from the race. And there was another incident somewhere, because Romain Colbaf just lost an eternity. He is now only 7 times ahead of Silverio and consequently Van Rossem. So the battle for 6th is still on. And this one is also on. And I will have a difficult time to understand who I have to follow, because look at this. Romain Colbaf all of a sudden finds himself in 6th place. I suspect an incident happened, although nothing showed up on my screen for the number 10. Unless it was an incident with Picano. In that case, many things can be explained. For now, nothing changes here. Meanwhile, here something might change. You can see the front end is slightly damaged. I don't want to raise fingers. The timing is... Oh, there is a car. Maybe... Oh, that was... The Lexus just sideways for a moment, I think. And while the two things are happening, Elephant just set another purple lap at 2 minutes 00.040. Yeah, Colbaf is not really having a good time here. With Rossem going on the left, then going back on the racing surface, back onto the slipstream, understanding that Silverio will go for the move, whether Colbaf likes it or not. And that's Alexis overtaking for 6th place. Van Rossem follows behind. Will he be able to make the overtake on his rival in this point? Or will he have to wait? And the answer is no, he will not wait. He will go into the inside. But that's Colbaf actually resisting at the same time. This was just a graphical glitch. With also Smith showing yellow flags. Another incident happened in the backyard of the field. With Van Rossem that is still in battle. Let's go back to the run into turn number 2. With Capo that this time is not really that confident in attempting a move. It remains where he is. Can't say the same about here, because Romain Colbaf is losing the position on Lawrence Van Rossem, this time effectively. And into turn 2. This Van Rossem in 7th place. I'll try to find the reason for Colbaf's slow down. Oh, that was the Mustang into the grass. That will not be a good thing for the tires into the descent. At the same time, you could see the pole was again into the wall. The number 2 is really pushing as much as possible, whilst Wasner is also pushing as much as possible. Both of them for different reasons. Wasner, that in clean air was slower than Poe, but Poe is in dirty air this time with worn tires on a Mercedes. The whole combination is not really great. But let's see if Poe's ability will overcome the difficulties. T1 and Forest Elbow exit are all that matter now. I will also add turn number 3. Generally, I think turn number 3 is a possibility, if he really wants to. And turn number 1. Not only the exit, even the entry. So last lap 0.01.7, 01.650. Respectively for Wasner and Poe. 5 minutes and 46 to go. Not much is left. 3 laps, maybe 4, if the time is kind for Poe. With the Mustang defending the inside without leaving any available space. And outside of turn number 2, you could see the Mercedes that was trying by the run into turn number 2 to find a way. The Mustang simply set a camp into the apex without really moving. He's not even parking the bus, he's parking the camper, the van, another camper, a truck, and even some billboards he found in the road. He's really parking everything to remain in 4th place. With Poe, he's really trying whatever is possible to achieve success. Which right now seems so close, but at the same time, time is ticking. Time is ticking and not much is left. So he has to play his cards now, quickly, and accordingly. Maybe this is a time for Poe, who throws himself into the inside. There was not an available space because Wasner also tried to defend the very same spot in which Mercedes was trying to launch itself into. It was a contact. A slight one, but there was one. Maybe into the splitter we go, but the sun is starting to fade. Maybe into the inside, he throws himself into the inside. There's a slight available space, and the Mustang is just giving enough for a car to fit, but not enough for a car to succeed in an overtake. Back into the straight. There's been a back and forth of going to the straight, going into the chase, going into a straight, and trying whatever is possible. 15 seconds behind, another battle is also ongoing. It's the one for 6th place. That's been going on since the very beginning of the race at this point. I can't remember a moment in which Silverio was not battling with another car. Maybe into the pits, but that's about it. Whereas here, Poe managed to overcome every possible difficulty to get back where he was at the beginning of the race. Battle for position with Sasha Wasner again over the curb. That was the rear end. Not really cooperating with the driver. This is close between the two. Close to the wall. Once again. 0.2 for both drivers at this point. It's completely useless to care about it. White flag for Van Rossum, so possibly a mistake there for the Ferrari, which eventually led to the Belgian losing some ground on Silverio. What happens now? 2 minutes 19 seconds to go. So it will be 2 laps till the end. For Poe, this is great. For Wasner, it could have been better. Or maybe not even 2 laps are needed. The bump draft into the last corner, into turn number 23, with Wasner practically camping onto the apex as if it was a COD lobby back in the days. Wasner still in the number 3. Maybe the outside is available. Not really. Wasner confident that Poe wouldn't try something into the inside because it would ruin the run into the straight. And maybe that was a surprise that was needed, but regardless, lap and a half to go. Again, Wasner keeping the car into the inside, slowing down as much as possible. Basically going GT4 pace if it's needed, but who cares at this point? Considering the only thing that counts now is this space here, well in this case now there, considering also Silverio and Van Rossum are battling for 6th. Even these two have been going on for a monumental amount of time. I think the correct answer is 90 minutes. Out of 90. And you can see Wasner completely loose, trying to launch the car. Maybe stick somewhere! But the free was sideways twice, going right and left. Elefante takes the white flag, brought to you by Kskin.de. With Wasner that doesn't have rear wheels anymore at this point. He is just skating. But Poe is not really in a better boat. As both cars are really trying whatever is possible to remain in 4th. Can this be the time? Or will we have to wait another 6.5 kilometers to see what happens? Close between the two. For Eric Delfante, it's only 90 seconds until he wins the championship. For these two, it is Loren Van Rossum that all of a sudden overtakes Miguel Silverio for 6th place. Alexis now has to find a way to pass by. With the gap that I think I was correct. I think I was correct. Look at the gap. Extending immediately. I think Silverio is at a need of fuel, but Sasha Wasner is side by side with Capo. Not by much. But this time, the Mercedes trying the outside line. Can he make it into the turn number 2? Over the marbles, over the curb. And the answer is still no. With Wasner maintaining the pressure high. Trying to keep the Mercedes out of bounds. Miguel Silverio, again, slow on track. He's losing more and more time. So yes, I think he was at a need of fuel. Will he be able to at least finish in 7th? But right now, the attention has to go to the Italian, Eric Delfante, who won a monumental amount of races. 7. And this will be the 8th one for Eric Delfante to win the championship ahead of the rest. Purple lap. Ian Buescher will be in 2nd. With Mattia Max in 3rd. Miguel Silverio, 3.6 seconds, so he is at a need of fuel. 4 seconds, yeah, definitely Silverio clearly has a problem in the fuel tank. But we will stay here for 4th because that's Capo throwing the car into the inside. Can he make it through? There is a contact. Both cars are sideways. One of them has to cut the grass. The other has to go for the cutback on the right side of the racing circuit. Will it be Poe? Will it be Wasner? At the final end of the circuit, the inside line is for the number 3. There is a cutback. There is a possibility there for Capo. Ultimately, it will be Sasha Wasner to stay ahead of Capo that will that will end in 5th place. Loren Van Rossum behind in 6th. Miguel Silverio that will not be able to block Romain Colbaf for position number 7. And Miguel Silverio that somehow arrives at the finish line with as little fuel as possible. Jason Lentz for 9th place. Philip Richter. This has been quite... I quite enjoyed it, I'll be honest. Philip Richter to complete the top 10. Obviously, Ian Buescher and Mattia Max that managed to get 2nd and 3rd. Apologies to them, but I had to keep the light on the battle. Philip Richter will end in 10th place, 11th for Mario Hoffman. Wayne Ferreira and then Daniele Modica, one after the other. Wayne Ferreira in 12th place, 13th for Modica, and then everybody else has tower has to be sent somewhere else. And at the end of a championship, I think this was a good one. And the server has been destroyed at the second. Everything finished. But the results, I think I will have to wait a tiny bit for the results to be on. Maybe not. We can just refresh it. No, obviously not. We'll wait a tiny bit for the results to be on both for the race and ultimately for the championship, because although I think I know how it ends, I really want to be sure about it. I don't want to say wrong things. Because with the championship that has been 12 weeks long, I'm just waiting for results to be updated and maybe for somebody to join the interview. So yes, these are the results. As you can see, Eric Delfante winning ahead of Ian Buescher and Mattia Max, with Sasha Wasner and Capo one another. not even a tenth between the two. And then it was Van Rossem, Kolbach, Silverio, Lenz, Richter, and I didn't pinpoint who was after. Hoffman, Ferreira, Modica, and then number 24, Nissan, 25 in 15th, Smith, Habold, Muti, Benson, Vimusar, Freitag, Ragno, Resch, and Hunter with the DNFs then following. Well, it has been fun. I will be completely honest. It has been quite fun. Thanks to you. Because you really gave me a heart attack for a moment. With both cars sideways at one point. Definitely a pleasant race. Unfortunately for Jay Stevens and Ulrike van der Meer, who were somewhat in the challenge, ultimately nothing would have changed. But still, terrible that they had their race cut short because of a couple of issues. Unfortunately, I forgot about Kolbach's incident. I should have remembered, but it's too late because ACC crashed, as always. So mine will just remain a suspicion for the time being. I don't think the overalls have been updated. No, they have not yet been updated. So for now, the results will stay on. So definitely a good championship, I would say. Sasha Wasner had a 1296, 1268 for Poe. Trying to have a look. Quante prima was it to? Okay, so yeah, it was effective. Yeah, I know it is, but as always, I'm like, maybe I missed something, and I completely demolished the run for the championship. No. It was effectively the battle for the championship, because if I remember correctly, if I counted correctly, both you, for the viewers, both Poe and Wasner were tied in points, technically speaking. Because if you get rid of the 1144 and the 1216, then you get the same end result. But ultimately, it should be as okay. Yeah, it was quite tied. I missed 8 points. I will just wait. You can come into the interview room, by the way. I'm here in the LFM channel if you want. That's not a problem for me. I'm definitely alright with it. And I'm just waiting for the standings. To be updated. Just to put them on screen. More than anything at this point, it's quite obvious that someone won the championship and somebody arrived second and somebody else arrived third. If it wasn't obvious, it is Fante first, Wasner second, and third. I'm too done with it. Okay. Yeah, I'll be honest. I was a fan of your race. I really enjoyed everything that happened in this race. And so yeah, congratulations for the podium. Unfortunately, not the second place, but the season was long. It was just a matter of points in the end. The tiniest amount of points. But yeah, you deserve something to drink. Here are the results. Here are the effective results. As you can see, Ariel Fante winning the championship. Sasha Wasner second. And Capo 20 points behind. Only 20 behind for the second place. Then Jay Stevens and Ulrike van der Meer that set at 0 in this round. And I really want to keep it in. And then Romain Kolbach has managed to arrive 6th. Mattia Max in 7th. Lorenz Barrossem in 8th. Miguel Silverio and Wayne Ferreira 9th and 10th. Then Cosmetics, Cabold, Dijkstra, Hoffman, Prudeman. And the whole rest of the drivers that participate in the championship. It was definitely a good one, this race, but certainly the championship has been long and exciting for the whole time. I remind that these are the prizes for the podium sitter. So effectively, I can say 100% that a hair on the bucket seat will go to Eric Fante. Another next 1000 gaming chair will go to Wasner, and a win bundle for Poe, arriving third. This was a monumental championship. The level is, as always, high. Maybe not as high as the Prime, obviously, but it certainly remains the top end of the stick in terms of ACC communities. And obviously this wouldn't be possible without our Patreons, first of all, because thanks to them this community can go on, but also thanks to our partners, so thanks to PMAX, to SyncMesh, to Box One Racing, to CaseKing.de, Hessner, Go Setups, ACC Drive, Nitro Concepts, and Moza Racing. Thanks to them, nothing would be possible. Regardless, this is Thursday. Because Thursday is the season finale of the seasons. Sorry, the season finale. Not off. Because we are at Le Mans, April the 2nd, for Le Mans Ultimate, for the classification, because the prizes are... are these ones. And nothing, apart from the GT3 winner, is yet decided. There is still a chance for the podium sitters to change everything up with prices offered by Trustmaster, Next Level Racing, and Modes of Racing. But for ACC, for this season at least, this was all. I was Chris Romano. It has been a pleasure to do commentary for this season in the CaseKing.de Prime Series. In the season number 21, only one race to go, and then we will jump into the 22nd season. The second, effective second for Le Mans Ultimate, and the 22nd for ACC, effectively. So, thank you so much to everyone that followed the race. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. And see you next time, so Tuesday. Bye!